If you are watching us on RADTV, you already know that Shelby Elias is in the studio with us from financewithshelby.com and United Wholesale Lending. Hello, Shelby.
Good morning.
So, first things first, this video you sent me the other day, what a great story this is. Can you recap what the hell happened?
Yeah, so I was in Dallas, and I was at a coaching seminar, and I flew into Austin since I was already in Dallas to check on a project that I have going on there. So I'm all by myself, and I decided to go over to the bar, and I'm kind of looking around and trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I'm there by myself. And I see this guy like lock eyes with me, and I'm like, okay, hi. And he's like, are you him? I'm like, who? He's like, Shelby Elias from Rad Radio. I go, yeah. He's like, oh my gosh, I knew it was you. So he runs over and
That's great.
and we sit down, and he has a ton of questions for me, and I'm just, helping him out with a bunch of stuff.
Aww.
And I mean, it was actually just such a cool feeling that, my purpose is just to share with everybody what I know and help as many people as possible. And this guy's mid-30s, trying to navigate through life, and he just shared how much that I've helped him, and it was just such a powerful feeling. And so immediately when we got done, I spent like a couple hours with him. Actually, it was cool to actually hang out with somebody. And I go back to my room.
You got a drinking buddy out of it. That was cool.
Yeah. And so I just went back to my room, and I was just sitting there thinking about it, and and how grateful I am for the opportunity to be able to share with so many people.
Yeah, that's
amazing. I love that.
I got the video when I woke up in the morning. I thought, this is one of the greatest things I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool story, and it is amazing, the reach that we have, the people that maybe found us here in Northern California, Northern Nevada. They still listen. I think still my record is the furthest being recognized away is Hawaii, twice by two different people, and it's a wild feeling.
Yeah, he was from Utah, so he wasn't even
what?
Yeah, he wasn't even from like Sacramento. But again, it's like,
wow.
I've worked my entire life to get to this point in my career where I could actually share with people and people listen, and it's like, wow, I've finally found my calling in life is to just help so many people and leave a legacy, and it just feels really good.
I love that. I love that, especially when you meet it face to face.
Yeah.
And get to spend time. Oh, I can see how much that means to you. That's
It was
beautiful.
awesome.
It's crazy. The crazy ones for me are those. They're like, he wasn't even from Sacramento, but he found us. He's in Utah. Back when my husband was fixing the zoos in Texas, when we were doing a commuter marriage, I was at a grocery store, and I heard somebody yelling Dawn, and I'm like, there's a Dawn around here they're looking for, right? Because I'm in, who knows me, in Austin. So, and they just kept, Dawn, and finally I turn around, they're like, oh my God, it is you. And I'm like, oh, did you move here from Sacramento? They're like, no, we're born and bred Texans. They found us just by searching whatever for shows. And I'm just like, crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you receive it that way too, Shelby, because you're helping so many people. And I mean, people. In fact, you know what? Here, let me just jump to this one here. We got this email just this morning from AJ.
Hey, AJ.
It says, I want to thank Shelby for his excellent insight and advice that he provides when he comes on the show. These insights have given me the confidence to take a calculated risk in buying an investment property, despite the current interest rates, in a town that I'll be relocating to temporarily. When that job is complete, I plan to either rent or Airbnb the property. So here are my questions. I'll be living in the property for 6 months. So what are some easy updates I can do to make sure that the property is renter or Airbnb ready? How do you decide whether a property should be rented traditionally or through Airbnb? Are there any tips that you can offer that would make an Airbnb property more competitive and produce the best reviews? Once again, thank you for the service you provide. Here's a guy who never would even done this.
Yeah.
You've inspired him to go out and get this. So he's going, okay, well, I got to go to this town, wherever it is, for 6 months. Well, why don't I buy a place I'm going to wind up turning into an Airbnb? First of all, do you like his plan, and what advice can you give him?
Yeah, I love the plan. This is how you break down an Airbnb property. And you always have to think with the mindset of you have to do the work, right? Nothing's easy. Nothing's free. It's always going to be a pain in the butt. But if you do the work, it can be very profitable. So first off, what you want to do is you want to go on a site called AirDNA. AirDNA actually breaks down. It's like the MLS for Airbnb properties. So you type in your address, you type in how many bedrooms and bathrooms, you use their rental analyzer. It will pull up every single Airbnb in that exact neighborhood. So then you can see, oh, this is what they're doing. the best part about AirDNA is it shows you how much money that they made last year on Airbnb.
Wow.
So you just took all of the guessing out of it. You're like, well, if that guy made $112,000 and his house looks like this, it shows you the actual Airbnb listing. Then if I make my house look like that, then I can expect this return on investment. So that's what you do first. Then I would join any Airbnb groups. So Facebook groups, Instagram groups. Get like a mentor in the Airbnb space and listen to the Airbnb podcasts. So really immerse yourself in that world and learn as much as you can to make your listing, the most profitable. Because even on Airbnb, when I first got in, I thought, man, this is incredible. I'm making like 2 times rent. This is unreal. But then when I really figured it out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can make 4 times rent. So you can get better at it. So those are the ways that you hone in the craft. The most important pieces to it is you have to find a really good cleaner. The cleaner is everything because you have to make sure that they understand the checklist and really, some of the issues that I would have with cleaning is they would go in, they'd do a great job cleaning the house, but then there'd be a spider in a spider web in the corner. You're like, look, I'd rather find a hair in my bed than sleep with a spider in the corner of my room. So you have to teach them those types of things, spend the time with them, explain the guest experience, because a lot of times those house cleaners, they've never even stayed in an Airbnb. So spend the time with them, show them exactly what you want done, and they will be the backbone of your entire business.
So I want to go back to the way you started, because there's this thing going around on a variety of levels when you were talking about how nothing's easy, nothing's free, and everything's a pain in the butt. There's a couple different levels of this. We started this morning with an email from somebody whose life is catching up to her, and she's just kind of overwhelmed. A little bit of a different scenario than what you're talking about, but we were talking the other day that there is this image people have. Oh, I know what it was. We've referred to it too many times. We were doing the Dr. Rob segment. We were acknowledging that in relationships that people actually disagree now and then, and they actually might argue, things like that.
Yes,
and it led us to this conversation that people sometimes they create kind of this image, especially the guy like you, maybe a few of us on the show, where they think, oh, they've got the best life, and they've got it so easy, and any problem that comes up, we just throw money at it. How do you react to that? Because you're right. Nothing's easy. Nothing's free. Everything's a pain in the butt. You're doing it with now 3 kids. You got an infant at home.
Yeah.
Jeez,
There's those of us that don't have kids that wonder how you do it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I know you have problems in life, too, that come along. So just take a minute to kind of help people through that part, because I think there's so many people so overwhelmed by the idea that's how hard it is they don't even try.
Yeah. So for one, you want it to be hard. That's how you know you're on the right path. So I think that the world kind of frames everything as thinking that it's so easy, but nobody can see. They only see the Instagram highlight reel.
Yeah.
They don't see what actually goes into life, or they look at a celebrity and they're like, look at Kylie Jenner. She became a billionaire. Yeah, she had to work from the age of like 12 and waking up at 12 years old at 5 a.m. and traveling all over the country for work. There's so much that goes into that, but the world praises this life and makes you think that you should be comfortable, when in reality, you don't want to be comfortable. All growth comes from being uncomfortable.
Yes.
So learning something new is uncomfortable, putting in the work. Some of the things that I put on myself, my friends hate this about me, but even my wife hates it. But I don't listen to music anymore in the car. I only listen to like podcasts and shows like this, because I'm learning and I want to learn and I want to get better. I even at the gym, same thing. I turn on like talk radio or I turn on a podcast. Like, you have to go through all of the pain to get to the other side. And then you never want to be comfortable. I did a post the other day that said that you always want to be reinvesting all of your money out. So my back is constantly against the wall. That way I have to perform at a high level. I don't want to be comfortable. You want to be uncomfortable.
It's so funny you say that. I wasn't looking for the opportunity to say it, but you remind me of this morning. So last night I was just exhausted. I went to bed at 7, which that's early even for me. But I'm usually about a 5-hour a night guy. I wake up at 1 a.m. and my mind is racing with stuff that has to be done, stuff that I'm on deadline, stuff that we have to do. And I realize after a few minutes, I go, okay, well, this is what we do. Get the hell out of bed and get to work.
Yeah.
Which 1 a.m. ridiculous, but that's what you have to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was because I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And what I told myself was, well, I'm not solving anything lying here, and I got my 5. I actually got 6 hours sleep. You got to get up and do. Now, I'm not suggesting people have to get up 1 a.m., but when you use the Jenner story, you reminded me we're all on different schedules. This is what has to be done sometimes, and. Even I don't know if you're planning on doing this into your 50s, but I'm into my 50s, and it's still the game.
Yeah.
The game is still the same if you want to keep up.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing. People think once you get to a certain spot, that's it. It's all just lay around.
Yeah.
No, you keep going and you keep doing. And my mindset changes like snap of a finger, and I don't even remember where I heard this from. I'm sure a million people have said it. But it's when I start thinking about this morning on my way to work, racing with all the things, and I'm like... And in that moment, I was letting myself like get almost like unenergized because it was so many things, right, to do. And then I was like, no, I get to do this. You know, instead of I have to do this, I get to do this. Whatever it was on the list, as big or small, I get to do this. This is what I get to do today. And it just turns it around. It makes me more energetic. It makes me more thankful as opposed, because you know how many people would want to do whatever it is I'm listing. Right. I think of, because podcasts, I'll listen to a lot of the Navy SEAL ones, and they'll talk about their buddies that aren't here anymore and how they live for them. And I'm like, so I think about, you know how many people would want this list, you know, like, so you know what, I get to do this, and it changes it around, and then I like it.
Well, in the reward afterwards, after you get through and push through all those daunting tasks that you have lined up for yourself, and when you tell yourself, hey, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to get it done today, you feel so much better. The stress is gone. You almost feel like a new person. And
it is that type of twist. It's in that moment where you realize, like maybe this morning when I threw a bunch of stuff at you and Brandon, it's like, oh crap, and I've got an hour or less to do this. And then when it's done, you're like, all right, we got it done. We hit the deadline. So one thing people, Shelby, don't think they can do right now is buy a home. Can't afford it. We're not in a position to buy. It's getting harder and harder for a lot of people to even comprehend it. It was hard a year ago when interest rates were low, and now they're out of their mind going, I'm never going to be able to do this. This is what you specialize in, even though you've become kind of the unofficial rad counselor outside of all of us. So back to what you do. How does somebody know if they can't afford a home right now?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, right now, it isn't the right time for everybody to buy a home. And that's really what my job is to make sure that people don't put themselves in a bad situation. So, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, I just want to sit on the sidelines. I don't want to buy right now. We'll see what happens. But there is opportunity to buy right now and get yourself a really good deal, because there's such low demand out there because interest rates are really high. So payments are high. But the opportunity is for the people that can afford, because since there's no buyers out there, you can negotiate anything that you want. So you can say, look, I want you to remodel the kitchen. I want you to put a new roof on the house. You could buy a house now in the very best location. Somebody that improved that property, put the pond, the man cave, the pool, like everything in there that you wouldn't normally want to buy, and yourself, because it's not a good investment. You know, you buy a pool, now you spent $60,000, you can only sell your house for $10,000 more. So right now you want to go after those, and you want to bake in such a low offer that if the market does fall a little, you're okay. So not only did you get all the bells and whistles that you wanted that saved you a ton of money, you bought a house in the best area, you had them put on the new roof, remodeled the house, like you could do all of that with all the uncertainty. But over everything, you have to know that you can afford the house payment. And how you know that is like these four steps. Is your financial house in order? What I mean by that is, do you have credit card debts, student loans, auto loans? How is your credit? And with all of those things, what I would recommend is you want to get yourself on an app like Mint. Mint is a great app that helps you sort out every single expense that you have. A lot of people, it's shocking when I analyze their income, they don't even know how much that they make in a month. They don't know how much they actually bring home, right? They're like, I don't know, I make like $80,000 a year. I'm like, no, actually you made 112. You know, they don't understand, because the amount after taxes and things like that, sometimes either the husband or the wife handles the finances, so they don't really know how much that they're bringing in. So number one, you have to treat it like a business, understand how much you're bringing in, where your money's going out, and then you have to make some adjustments accordingly. I helped a guy the other day, and he was spending all this money on golf, and I'm like going through his finances. I'm like, hey, you're spending a ton of money on golf. Probably make more sense if you just bought a golf membership. Does the place that you golf offer like a monthly membership? Because he's playing all these different golf courses. He spent thousands of dollars on playing golf. He's like, oh, it's for my work though. Like, yeah, but if you just spent $300 and stayed at one course, you're spending like $1,300 a month on golf.
Damn.
Oh man, I didn't know I was spending that much. So use an app like that and go over all of your finances to determine where you're spending your money, how much money you have left at the end of the month. And then you want to look at what your credit score is, because your credit score is what actually determines the interest rate that you receive. So you want to check out your credit. You want to make sure that you have enough for the down payment. A lot of people think, well, I only need 3% down for the down payment. Yeah, but there's closing costs involved. There's also any repairs that need to be made. You might have a supplemental tax bill when you buy. So you want to take into consideration all of those items, and then you want to make sure that you have some funds set aside after in case anything were to come up.
Which it always does.
It always does. There's always
Life.
something that comes up, because when you're renting a house, you don't have to worry about those things. The dishwasher goes out, your hot water heater goes out. Again, those are all things that are very valuable in today's market, because you could have somebody fix all that.
So you gave the golf example, which is a great one, and I always go to the easy Starbucks example when we're talking about how you can trim money. I've told people, if you give me 15 minutes and I see where you're spending money all the time, I can immediately show you that you're spending much, and you're gonna have to decide: is Starbucks a luxury that you need 5 days a week at $8 a trip, which adds up to $40 a month? Pretty soon, it's $160 a month kind of thing. You had another great example: the gas station trip.
Yeah.
So you don't just fill up, because that's already
Yeah.
expensive, right? You fill up your gas
Yes.
tank, but then what happens?
Yeah, you
Beef
go in,
jerky.
you buy the beef jerky, you buy the sunflower seeds, you buy the sodas. Then, anybody else that's in the car, you feel obligated to ask them, you want anything?
Pretty soon.
Now it turns into $20,
Right.
$30 a trip. You're like, what the heck? Where's all my money going?
And these are little things that you're doing often enough that can add up, that pretty soon you're starting to build that slush fund or have more money for the down payment or things like that. And Mint, what a great idea, because a lot of people are just overwhelmed by even doing that. So this app that you have no financial investment in, I assume,
No.
is just a great way to put in everything you're making, compare to your expenses, which you have to be honest about that, and it'll help you
Yeah.
figure out what you're doing.
Oh God, I did this on DoorDash. I didn't even realize.
Oh.
I was looking one
Oh,
day and I
man.
was like,
Don't do it.
oh wow, this will show me like over the month, because you tell yourself, oh, we're super busy, we got all this going on, oh, just DoorDash, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's what we would have spent on groceries or whatever to make that meal, or which isn't true, because you're having something delivered, which you're tipping, and there's the tax, all of that, right? And so I looked, and they'll do the whole like for your month, and I almost vomited. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah, no more DoorDash. Like, but as it's happening, you just don't even think you're spending that much.
Yeah.
You just don't. And then you see the total number and you're like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
What an idiot. Like, no, this is 5 times more than the grocery store. It's like, oh my gosh. This is a treat
it is.
now.
And when you break down each thing, that's what's the best part about the app, is because once you find out where you're spending, you're like, oh my gosh, if I took this off, I could save myself $500 a month. And it's everything. It's like, okay, could I shop my pool guy and maybe get my price for my pool down? Can I, how much am I spending on car washes? Do I really need the guy to come to my house, or should I just use the touchless gas station car wash? Should I wash my car myself? Once you break all of that down, you can really determine exactly how much that you could potentially be saving to invest in a home. A lot of people ask me for the magic formula, like, how much do I need to spend on my house? Every single person has a different answer for that, because we all live our life differently, and we're willing to give up certain things that other people aren't. So, you really have to figure that piece out for yourself. What I can help with is, let's break down all of your expenses. Let's see if you can truly afford this investment. And then at that point, you can make a smart financial decision for yourself.
So that's saving money. That's trimming expenses.
Yeah.
There's also another direction, though, and we've alluded to it a lot on the show,
Yeah.
that employees and my staff can all tune out at this moment. My employees have more power now in the marketplace than they do. Now, I know this is extraordinarily intimidating, but you actually advise people, could you get a raise?
Yeah. I mean, people have three options, right? You can get a side hustle and you can start making some more money. You could watch podcasts and listen and learn about how to be an Airbnb property manager. They make 20% of the total profit from the Airbnb, and they don't even own the house. They just manage it.
What?
It's crazy. I mean, that is a great side hustle. And all you're doing is responding to messages and handling guest complaints, which sucks, but you make good money. So there's a lot of things you can do for a side hustle. Next thing you could do is you ask your employer for a raise. Period. Hey, what could I do to make more money? I have to get here. And I advise people on that all the time. I say, hey, right now you can only qualify for $350,000. But if you get a raise of $10,000 a year, I can get you to $450,000, and I think you can afford that comfortably at this salary. So you can ask your employer for a raise, or if they say absolutely not, there's no way you're going to move up, then you can shop around your employer. And I know a lot of people feel comfortable. They're like, no, I like where I work. But do you like the way that you're living? Do you like not owning a home? This is what you got to do to get there. You got to get a little bit uncomfortable.
Phone number is 888-989-9811. You can email us, rad@radradio.com. Diane says, my boyfriend and I are approved for an FHA loan with down payment assistance. The percentage of the max assistance has changed, and it feels like the down payment assistance for a first-time home buyer is starting to put home buying out of reach. Any suggestions? Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, when you use the down payment assistance loans, it comes with a higher interest rate. FHA loans also have higher monthly mortgage insurance. So, I would try to avoid that if possible. The best down payment assistance program that's out there right now is called the Equity Builder Program. It gives you 10% down for free. So in our local market, if you're making under around $80,000 or under, it's around a $400,000, $450,000 purchase price. You can get 10% down as a first-time home buyer for free. That's the best down payment assistance out there.
Hello there, Rob. Go ahead.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Please excuse me while I try to formulate sentences and not sound like an idiot on the radio.
It's okay.
Me and my wife do want to buy a home in the future, at least be prepared. I've been trying to pay down my credit for a long time, and Shelby had mentioned before that debt consolidation loan would be a good idea. I've done the math, and the interest is definitely going to be lower than what I'm paying with all my credit cards right now. I guess I'm just asking if that's still a good idea, and if there's a specific place I should think about going to get a loan.
So you really want to wait for the credit card offer that says that you can do a balance transfer and they give you 0% financing for an entire year. Now, at that point, what you do is you take the credit cards that you do have that have high balances and very high interest rates, and you transfer the balance over to your new card that carries a 0% interest rate for an entire year. That's an absolute no-brainer.
Jason wrote in, this email says, quick question for Shelby. The property directly next to us is for sale. Any benefits to purchasing the property, maybe combining, make it into one property? Just curious.
My best friend growing up, his family did the same thing. They literally bought 4 houses in a row, took down the back fence. It's really cool for, your family to all live next to each other, and there's a lot of value there. But in terms of you owning the house next door, I don't think there's that much value unless maybe you want to turn it into an Airbnb. It makes it very convenient for you to manage it. But other than that, I don't see any other benefit.
Are there zoning challenges too, depending on where he is, where if he wants to turn it into one big property?
So, yeah. Okay, so that does bring up a very good point. So sometimes especially like the country, people have bigger lots. You can do what's called a lot line adjustment if you own both parcels right next to each other. You could subdivide them, but a lot line adjustment makes it nicer because what you can do is you can adjust the lot of one house to make that one more valuable than the other house. It's a fairly easy process and very cheap to do. Other than that, that's the only benefit.
We're Shelby from financewithshelby.com. We're going to take a quick break. You can stick around till 9, correct?
Cool.
Phone number is 888-989-9011. More emails, rad@radradio.com. Back after this with Shelby.